This is a brand new in-box RC helicopter, but the crazy thing is, it's 20 years old. That's right, this E-flite Blade CX2 originally released in 2005, 20 years ago, and I was lucky enough to find one on eBay, brand new, so I'm really excited to take a look at it. But first, let's just take a quick peek around the box. They're advertising 2.4 gigahertz radios. Yeah, 20 years ago, people were just making the switch to 2.4. Before this, we were still using the old school like metal antennas that you had to pull out of radios. So yeah, it's crazy to see how much RC technology has changed in 20 years. Let's take another quick look around the box. We can see everything that's included. It's a ready-to-fly RC helicopter set, so it has everything I need in the box, including, what is this, a video CD and the AA batteries. I wonder if those are still good. Oh, and the LiPo battery too. Yeah, a 20-year-old LiPo battery. I have a feeling that's not going to be usable today. So now let's get into the box. And there it is, the video CD. What is this? There's even a postcard in here. A product registration form business reply mail that I can send to Horizon Hobby. I wonder if this is still valid. Do you think I should try and mail this? Maybe I'll do that in another video. Maybe I can try and see if I can mail this and see if I get anything in return. That'd be so funny if I do. And here is the video CD. This video CD will play in most DVD players and CD-ROM equipped computers. I definitely don't have any of those, so unfortunately I can't take a look at it, but I think the video is still online on YouTube.
Congratulations on the purchase of your E-flite Blade CX2. Soon you'll be able to enjoy the fun and excitement of flying your very own RC micro helicopter, even if you've never flown one before. This video CD will walk you through some of the pre-flight steps illustrated in the manual.
All right, let's put that aside. Looks like we get an instruction manual. There shouldn't be anything too interesting in here. It is all in black and white though. I guess they didn't have the budget to make it in color. And now let's take a look at the helicopter. Wow, there it is. What a blast from the past. This is awesome. Oh, and there's a brand new battery in the bag too. I guess the seller threw that in. There's the original factory battery and they threw this one in here. This one is quite puffy, so I'm definitely not going to be using this one. I think this one is definitely dead. And the nostalgia is coming back to me because the reason I was looking out for one of these on eBay was because this Blade CX2, well, not this exact Blade CX2, but the Blade CX2 was my very first RC helicopter. Yeah, this got me started into RC aircraft. And mind you, 20 years ago was before drones even existed. I mean, well, they kind of existed, like the military had a couple of them, but hobbyist drones weren't even a thing back in 2005. And so yeah, I actually got started into this hobby with RC helicopters, this one specifically, the Blade CX2. And look at that, it's so new and shiny, wow. I'm really excited about this. Also because this body shell here, it's made out of the thinnest of plastics, so in your very first crash, this thing will shatter and crack like no other. It's not very durable at all. It's not Lexan or polycarbonate. It's some other kind of like super thin like packaging material. Like, you know how some stuff comes packaged in plastic clamshell that can like shatter and crack? That's like the same kind of material here. So you have to be really careful with that. So it's awesome to see one that's brand new and fully intact. Also, this Blade CX2 was on sale for a couple of years, I think from like 2005 to maybe like 2007 or 8-ish. And I know this is an early one because the head over here is plastic. Pretty early on into their production cycle, people were having issues with this plastic head causing a lot of like toilet bowl effects. So even if you're just hovering, the helicopter would just start doing this little toilet bowl maneuver. And so they quickly replaced this plastic head with a blue anodized aluminum one right from the factory. But all the early ones like mine, it still had this plastic head like this one. So this one might not fly that great. Also, it's really funny to see, this was made back in the day before E-flite figured out that you could put the blades on a rotating hinge. Pretty much all RC helicopters you see today, their helicopter blades are like on a little screw pivot, so that if you do hit something with the helicopter blades, the blade can pivot and hopefully absorb some of the impact and not completely shatter. But back in these days, back in 2005, they didn't really know to do that. So you can see here the two blades are actually screwed to each other and they're completely fixed, so they can't pivot at all. So the moment you even just graze something like a wall or anything, you'll nick the blade and it'll instantly shatter. So I went through so many sets of replacement blades. I must have spent like $100 or something back in the day just on replacement blades. The moment you hit something, it just shatters. It's crazy. Looks like the seller threw in a couple of nice goodies here. Yep, we get a full set of brand new upper and lower main blades, 2 pairs uppers, 2 pairs lower. So if I do want to fly this, I definitely have a lot of spares on hand in case I do crash it. So that's good to see. Let me set this helicopter off to the side. I'll open up the canopy later, but first let's take a look at everything else we get in the box. First, let's take a look at this LiPo battery, which I'm a little nervous about. It is puffy. Yeah, 20-year-old LiPo battery, quite puffy. This is not safe to use. I don't think it's going to last any amount of time actually flying either, so I think I'm going to be disposing of this one. I did find replacement ones from Hobby King that are almost a perfect fit, so I think I'm going to be using those instead. I definitely won't be using this 20-year-old LiPo battery. But yeah, it's a 2-cell 800 milliamp hour LiPo. And fun fact, my very first LiPo charger was the Dynamite Vision Peak Ultra. It was a computerized LiPo charger that didn't balance the LiPo. Yeah, they just charged them straight up and you just had to hope they stayed in balance. That was so dangerous. I can't believe they sold chargers like that. Even for this ready to fly kit, they did have the sense to put in a proper balancing LiPo charger. So here it is. It has a DC input over there for this wall wart, and then you just plug in the balance plug into there. This one should still be usable. LiPo technology hasn't really changed that much over 20 years, so this charger should be fully functional. So I might actually even still use this charger. Nothing wrong with it, still can use it. And let's take a look at the controller. Here we go, the LP5 DSM, a DSM2 Spectrum radio. Spectrum actually still uses pretty much the same protocol these days. They call it DSMX, but it's like backwards compatible with this, which is DSM2. So surprisingly, this radio is still usable, or also I can use a modern radio with this 20-year-old RC helicopter. So that's kind of cool how things worked out. It's still pretty much relevant. There's just a little LCD screen that just shows the battery level. According to the box, it said that this one came with AA batteries. Are they in? Unfortunately, they all have leaked, so that's bad to see. So I don't think this radio specifically is going to work anytime soon, but I actually do have a vintage Spectrum DX7 that's like 20-ish years old as well, and I'm probably going to try and get that to work with this helicopter. That was a lot of fun. Now let's take a closer look at the helicopter. So yeah, this is a coaxial helicopter, so both of these main rotor blades spin in opposite directions. I think there's only like one real-life helicopter that does the same thing, or like one or two. These are pretty uncommon designs. There's a little fly bar up here for stabilization. This is the reason why these coaxial helicopters were so popular back in the day, because these helicopters were really easy to learn on. This fly bar effect over here, where it uses like the momentum or the inertia of the fly bar, keeps this helicopter relatively stable. It stays horizontal basically on its own. It's kind of like flying a drone in angle mode all the time. So yeah, this helicopter is in by default angle mode, and that's what made it so appealing to start as a beginner. And that's why I started with this, and this is how I learned to fly line of sight way back in the day with this helicopter. And if I remember correctly, I just need to pop off this canopy over here on these rubber grommets. I'm being extra careful because I don't want to bend the canopy too much, because like I said earlier, this plastic here is super thin and fragile. It's way too easy to crack it, and I don't want to crack this brand new 20-year-old new old stock helicopter body, because it's definitely impossible to find any replacements these days. All right, there's the canopy removed. First, let's just take a quick look at this canopy. You can see just how thin it is. It's made out of the absolute thinnest of plastics. I don't know why they didn't use Lexan or polycarbonate, the same material they make RC car bodies out of, because it's a very similar super thin plastic, but that's a lot more durable. Instead, they use this kind of a cheap plastic, honestly. I don't know why they did that. The rear part can be taken off, but there's not much to see under here, honestly. This is all just a hollow body shell. There's nothing going on in the tail boom of a coaxial helicopter. It's a brushed helicopter, so there are two brushed motors here to power both of these rotors. For control, the swash plate tilts this bottom rotor only, and there's two servos over here, so like an aileron and elevator, the airplane equivalents. So that'll tilt the swash plate, which will tilt this rotor head for control. All the electronics are located in this box here. This is a 4-in-1 control unit. So there's the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum receiver in here, as well as the dual motor driver with a gyro. Solid state MEMS gyros, those are really expensive and not super accurate. So things we take for granted today with our drones that are just automatically like locked in, like stuff like that didn't really exist back in the day. So this thing will drift all over. Like this thing can't properly hold its tail position. But the main motor control board is up here, and down here is the receiver board, and it's literally just one of their off-the-shelf receivers, the Spectrum AR6100. They decased it and they put it into this bigger case with the motor control board. So it is possible to take this 4-in-1 unit apart and just simply pop off the receiver and then use the receiver separately in any other project you want. And that's actually what I did with my original CX2 from back in the day. After I was done flying this helicopter and I learned how to fly it, I wanted to build like RC airplanes and stuff. And so I actually took this 4-in-1 unit apart and I pulled the receiver out and I used the receiver in my own projects. Let's take a look at the underside. Oh yeah, this is where the battery goes. So the battery would slide in over here. The battery tray is really tight and these batteries are all puffed up, so I don't think there's even a chance this is even going to fit into the battery tray anyways. It uses the classic red JST connectors that a lot of aircraft still use to this day. And if we look down in here, you can kind of see, you can see the two pinion gears of the motors, and then you can see the two spur gears for the rotors over there. So yeah, what a blast from the past. This thing brings back a lot of good memories. My very first RC helicopter that I learned how to fly RC aircraft with. Pretty cool to see one in brand new condition. And I think I might actually try and get this one flying, because technically there's nothing wrong with it. I just got to find a battery that isn't 20 years old that'll fit in this battery tray, and this thing should be able to fly. Alright, because the old radio had corroded batteries, I have it set up on my vintage DX7. I think this is circa like 2008 or so, so not quite 20 years old, but almost 20 years old, and this thing works great with this old 20-year-old RC helicopter. And since the batteries are shot, I'm using this relatively new Turnigy battery. It's a bit of a tight squeeze in the CX2, but it works okay. It's their Nanotech 950 mAh 2-cell. Let's get it up in the air and see if this thing flies after 20 years. I'm so used to drones beeping when they're ready to go, but no, this one is just ready to start, so let's see. It flies, wow. And unlike drones, these things are a little bit more squirrely to fly. That's just the deal with helicopters that are all mechanically linked like that. The gyro isn't great. You can see it's trimming to the left, so let's give it a bit of a right trim. And this requires like active flying all the time still, just to keep it in one place. So it's not like a nice drone that'll position hold. You have to constantly fly it. But this is bringing back a ton of memories. And when I first started years ago, I'd accidentally like crash into the walls and stuff and break all the blades. But thankfully I've improved since then, so it looks like I can hover this thing just okay for now. Whoop! There we go. See, it gets a little... That's like the toilet bowl effect, where it just kind of goes in a circle by itself, and it's really hard to recover from. And you can see the tail is wagging. So that was the real challenge with these helicopters back in the day. They didn't go exactly where you told them to. They had a mind of their own, but sometimes you can get into a nice, smooth rhythm, just like that. There we go, that's pretty stable now. Yeah, a 20-year-old RC helicopter. I didn't set a timer, so I have to land. There's no telemetry whatsoever. So usually what I do is set a timer for 5 minutes and land after the 5 minutes is up. I think I'm about 3 minutes in right now. This Turnigy battery is still pretty old, so it might land pretty soon. But yeah, awesome. This is definitely a handful to fly. You don't want to fly this thing outside either. Let's do a little bit more movement. Back and forth. Pretty cool. Alright, I'll bring him in for a landing now. Just as I remember it, very squirrely, pretty hard to fly, but I did learn how to fly on this helicopter. It's pretty awesome to be able to fly this thing again after 20 years. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.